working me. She working me. Urging me.
You guys, I had a stressful week. Your girl was stressed. NP school had me stressed. But no, so on Monday and Tuesday, I had an exam both of those days. So on Monday, I had a health assessment exam, which I ended up making a 94A on. And then on Tuesday, I had my advanced pharmacotherapeutics exam, which I ended up making 100 on that one. So I am completely pleased with my exam scores, but honey, the preparation that it took, it was very overwhelming because I had to study for 2 exams each day. But since I did so well on my exams, I just want to give you guys just like a recap of how I studied. Of course, I'll do my official video at the end of the semester when I pass both of my courses. But for now, I just want to give you guys like a sneak peek of my study habits, and just so you guys can see how studying for NP school is just a little bit different. So first off, my method for studying is basically similar to how I studied for nursing school exams. So I'll start off with my advanced pharmacology class. So as far as my study habits for pharmacology and NP school, I pretty much did the same thing that I did in nursing school. So I did the readings the best I could. For each lecture, there were like maybe 3 to like 7 chapters assigned. So what I did for pharmacology, I would wait till lecture, and then once lecture was over, I would read my assigned chapters, just because with pharmacology, some of the medications in different chapters we were not going to be tested over, or they weren't going over in lecture. For example, our chapter on antibiotics, some of the antibiotic classes weren't going over in lecture, and we weren't going to be tested over those. By me watching the lecture and just seeing what type of medications we would be tested on, I would just go through my lecture and read about the medications talked about in lecture in my textbook and just skip over the meds that we did not discuss. My pharmacology book is very thick. These chapters in my pharmacology book are pretty long. Like they can range from anywhere to 50 to like 100 pages. Like the chapter on antibiotics, I want to say is definitely 100 pages. Thing I love that my professor does, we have these reflection activities, which are basically quizzes over the readings and the lecture. So that was a great study tool as well, just to see how my professor would be testing us. Whenever I have lecture, of course, you know, my program is completely online for the most part. I always try to watch my lectures, you know, as soon as possible, but we can watch them at any time. Put my cell phone in another room, and I just act like I'm actually, you know, physically in a classroom setting or physically in lecture, because usually when I'm, you know, in a live lecture, you know, my phone will be in my backpack, and, you know, I'm paying complete attention to my professor. So I do the same thing at home, and you know, just to help me stay focused. And with Vanderbilt, my professors, they explain everything to the T. Of course, if you have questions about a certain topic, you can email them, and of course they'll be happy to respond. I've seen a few people who are in NP school talk about their programs are a lot of self-teaching. At Vanderbilt, I don't experience that, because in lecture, my teachers teach, like we're learning. And of course, if I don't understand the concept, I can email them. You know, I don't feel by myself in my learning. Their lectures are so well and are packed with information, so they explain topics very well. So for studying for pharmacology, you know, reading chapters just about the specific medications discussed in lecture, I made flashcards. These are all of my flashcards from exam 1 for pharmacology. So for not each, I don't want to say each PowerPoint slide, because some of the slides I skipped over. So for slides that I felt we were going to be tested on, or, you know, things in lecture that my professor would be like, hey, you need to know this for the exam, of course I made flashcards for it. So I am a very visual learner. See how my flashcards are like color coded and have different colors? That's how I learn. So for example, with like the different antibiotics, so for tetracyclines, I might have wrote all of that information in like a brown color, or for penicillins, I might have wrote that in green, and I would memorize these flashcards. Now, of course, as you know, in nursing school and NP school, it's not enough to memorize because you need to be able to critically think and apply the information to different situations to be successful on your exam. Another thing I did that helped me to be successful on my advanced pharmacology exam was practice questions. So we already had the reflection activities that my professor has us do that had pretty good questions on there, so that we were able to see how my professor would test us. For my exam, I looked over those questions again. So that pretty much was how I was successful on my pharmacology exam. And also my professor, she gave us an opportunity for extra credit. So the assignment we had to complete was pretty simple. So I got some points added to my exam with the extra credit. And also my pharmacology professor, she sent us the email basically telling us like, hey, this is the format of the exam, so this is the breakdown of the exam. You know, basically just telling us what topics will be more so heavily covered over the exam versus which topics wouldn't be covered as much on the exam. So that was really helpful. As far as how much time I put into studying, I started studying for pharmacology on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had to take a break Saturday because I worked a full 12-hour shift and there was no way I was coming home to study. I didn't study for pharmacology on Sunday because I had to study for my health assessment test. I studied for my pharmacology exam Monday after I finished my health assessment test, and then I also studied Tuesday morning before I took my exam at noon. So I put in a nice amount of hours for my pharmacology exam, but I'm completely happy with the results. I will move on to health assessment. So for my health assessment class, that exam was on Monday. So as far as my time for studying, I studied Wednesday, Thursday. I skipped Friday because Friday I completely focused on antibiotics for pharmacology because that was a heavy chapter. I skipped Saturday because I had to work, and then of course I studied Sunday all day, and then I woke up at like maybe 5:30 a.m. and studied until my exam at 8 o'clock in the morning. For health assessment, I pretty much did the same thing. Our reading, so this book is a lot more manageable compared to my pharmacology book. We are quizzed every week with reading assessments, you know, to make sure we're reading. For the most part, you need to read your textbook because that just makes everything stick. I don't know, when I'm like memorizing stuff, reading your textbook, it just builds a foundation in your brain. And then of course when you're going back making your flashcards and everything, that just adds to your foundation. So I always encourage people to try to read their textbooks in nursing school and NP school. Unless the chapter is super long, you know, just go through the chapter and read the information that, you know, corresponds to your lecture. But with health assessment, these chapters are pretty manageable. Of course, flashcards for health assessment. Practice questions, so I used our reading assessment practice questions basically just to quiz myself. I ended up making a 94 on that exam. I thought I had completely failed my health assessment exam. Like I thought I had made like a C or a low B because I just kept replaying the questions in my mind, and I was like, I know I didn't get that one right or whatever. And I was like, some of the questions I wasn't sure about because I was just thinking the absolute worst. I was like, okay, if I ain't do well on this exam, then I'm gonna have to you know, do well on my other exams. But by the grace of God, I made an A on that exam. But you know, I should never really doubt myself because I put in the hours to study. Oh, I forgot to mention this. For pharmacology, we were tested over, you know, basic prescribing principles, pharmacology principles like, you know, absorption, metabolism, excretion, distribution of medicine in the body, eyes, ears, nose and throat drugs. We were tested over antibiotics, and we were also tested over respiratory drugs, so like your drugs used in asthma, pneumonia, and then we were tested over HIV, STD, and anemia medications. For health assessment, we were tested over the introduction to the SOAP notes, so your subjective, objective, your assessment and plan. We were tested over assessment of the hair, skin, and nails, and also we were tested over assessing a patient's mental health. Honestly, I can't complain about the exams. I definitely think my foundation of nursing school, working as a nurse for 3 years, I think that helped. But of course, you know, the information you learn in NP school is tailored towards you diagnosing patients, assessing patients to make a diagnosis, and then of course, you know, prescribing medications. So with pharmacology, our tests focused on a lot of safety, basically like what are some black box warnings for different meds so that you are able to safely prescribe medications by being aware of like the adverse effects and black box warnings. So I think it's, as you're studying for like nursing school and NP school, you definitely have to figure out your learning style. So I did use the Picmonic app for studying for pharmacology. I'll be honest with you, I watched the videos they had for antibiotics. They had great information, but it's like as soon as I watched it, the information I got from the video, as quick as it came in my brain, it went out. Picmonic really didn't help me that much. It definitely gave a lot of mnemonic, you know, ways to remember certain meds and everything, but I didn't really use that. This is my study area. So of course I have my laptop, my mouse pad, my mouse. I have headphones just in case like I'm watching a lecture. Usually I watch my lectures without headphones in, but if my family's here and they're being pretty loud, I'll put my headphones in my computer and watch my lecture that way. But I haven't had to do that yet. So I have all of my pens, pencils. I'm a very visual learner, so you know I have these Sharpies. I got them for like $5 at Walmart, and this, how many are in here? Like 21 are in here for $5, so that was a pretty good deal. Of course I have my stapler, hole puncher, paper clips and stuff are in there. And this is where I keep my binders for my classes. And this is just extra school supplies in these bins. This is my calendar. Just, you know, reminding me of certain things going on. So you can see in October, we only have 1 test per week instead of 2, thank God. So I have a test October 15th and also a test on October 23rd, and I'll be in Nashville October 23rd and the 24th. So this is my planner right here, which is very important. You guys need a planner to stay organized, and then these are just some more organizers. So this is my study area, and of course I don't have anywhere to put my big vanity mirror, so it's just sitting on my desk. So lecture is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, but as you guys know, it's Thursday, so How to Get Away with Murder is coming back on. So I'll be finished watching this lecture at like 7:53. How to Get Away with Murder comes on at 9. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. So if you guys have any questions about studying for NP school or nursing school, or if you guys have some study tips you want to share with us, just leave them down in the comments.